what you're thinking, Northbrook Middle School 8th grade students. You're thinking, Mr. Bork's about to get eaten by a shark. Don't worry about it. It's just the DLD Show. He's here for the ride just like you guys are. Welcome to Tuesday. Fantastic Tuesday. Yesterday was our first day of the discussion posts. It went very well, we thought. I was talking with Mr. Edwards and Mr. Parr and Ms. Polycarp. It went really well. The only thing we want to caution as a note, moving forward, when you reply, you want to continue the conversation. And if you just say, I agree with that, you've ended the conversation. So if you agree, that's great. Talk about some point about how you agree and expound on it a little more. Give a detail, ask a question, okay? Moving forward, that's the type of responses we're going to be looking for. Today, we're going to be talking about the executive branch. Ooh, it's the most exciting branch because it's the tippy top. We think it's the leader, it's the president, in Georgia, it's the governor. That's right, it's the governor, the lieutenant governor, who's like the vice president, and also the governor has all of the state agencies of like law enforcement that are part of the executive branch that he can use to help enforce the law. That's what the executive branch does here in Georgia. It enforces the law. Now we've got a special guest for you here on the DLD Show who's going to come in and give you a little bit of expertise and have a little discussion with you about the qualifications to be governor and to be lieutenant governor. Take it away, Mr. Parr.
Oh, hey, it's Mr. Parr here, back with you. Week 2 of COVID-19 Mageddon. I miss not being there with you. I miss not seeing you and us being together, but we're going to get this done this way. I want to talk to you today about the state executive branch. Yeah. You know, the state government and federal government mirror each other. So you've got the executive branch of the state government and the executive branch of the federal government. If the federal government's executive branch is the president and the vice president, and they mirror each other, who do you think the state's executors are? That's right, if you said the governor and the lieutenant governor. And that's what we're going to talk about today. You know, the governor and lieutenant governor have the same qualifications. Because if something happens to the governor, the lieutenant governor has to take over for him and become the governor. And so the same qualifications are required for both. But there is a slight difference. Well, let's look at the qualifications first. Both must be at least 30 years old. They both must be citizens of Georgia for at least 6 years. And they both must be U.S. citizens for at least 15 years. That's why some governors have not been born here in the United States. As long as they became citizens later, they could become governor. And one of them you might know. Well, it's been a while since he's been governor, but you're right if you guessed Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yes, Arnie, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, was governor of California. Was he born here? No, but he became a citizen later. And so he can run. Now that's different from the President of the United States. President of the United States, you must be born a natural citizen, but not as a governor. Also, I can think of another governor that was governor of another state one time, and she was Canadian, born Canadian, became a citizen of the United States, and was Michigan's governor for a while, Jennifer Granholm. You may know a few others that be in the same situation. But when we look at Georgia's governor today, we have the governor and the lieutenant governor. They don't run on the same ticket like a president and a vice president does. You can actually vote for the the lieutenant governor and the governor differently. they can both be from some different parties as well. And they both have different qualifications for their terms. A governor has 2 consecutive terms of 4 years. The term is 4 years. And a lieutenant governor can run as many times as he's elected. So there are no term limits for the lieutenant governor, but there are 2 consecutive term limits for the governor. Now, could a governor run for 2 terms or 8 years, step down, and run again? Absolutely, that could happen. And we talked about that a little bit in the Talmadge dynasty when we talked about that a little earlier. So yes, a governor, as long as they step down after 2 terms and don't run that 3rd term because they're not allowed, they can run again after that term that they've sat out expires. The lieutenant governor has no term limits. Hey, keep those responses coming in. Doing a great job on the responses and the $1 million questions, and as well as the responses to each other. Make sure that you are thinking of them thoughtfully and making thoughtful comments on them, not just I agree or I disagree, but go further. It should be at least a nice paragraph that you comment each time. But keep that coming in and stay safe. Hope to see each other real soon.
Oh, Mr. Parr, entertaining us with some musical stylings here on the DLD Show while we're learning. Oh, hold on one second. Gotta have the coffee, especially when we're about to talk now about the powers of the governor, okay? There are 2 types of powers, and you can download today's PowerPoint, and you can see those. And just follow along with us there. But it's 2 categories. There are informal powers and there are formal powers. Okay, now the formal powers, these are the things that are in the Georgia Constitution. The governor has to do these things. Okay, these are the things that are required of him by law, by the law of the Constitution of the state of Georgia. Okay, so let's talk about a few of the things that he has to do. A formal power. He has to manage the state budget. Okay, he's the guy who is officially in charge of managing the state budget that we talked about yesterday. He also has to, one of his formal powers, he has to give a speech once a year. It's called the State of the State Address. And in the State of the State Address, he basically will talk about the things that he wants to accomplish in the upcoming year. In the PowerPoint, go there and look at it because there's a video clip that's built in of the last governor, Nathan Deal, giving a bit of the State address. Just watch a minute or 2 of it so you can get an idea of that power. He is also the commander-in-chief of the Georgia National Guard. Okay, that's a formal power. If there was ever a time of crisis, the governor has a formal power where he can call forth the National Guard if he needs to. And then, of course, another formal power that you've talked about already is he signs bills into law or he vetoes bills. That is a formal power of the governor. Another formal power of the governor is a judicial power. He has the power to pardon criminals, okay, that are convicted of a crime here in the state of Georgia. And you'll see in the PowerPoint, I ask you, why would the governor pardon someone? Think about it for a second. Why would the governor use that power to let somebody out of jail? Just giving you a moment to think. Well, what if somebody has been imprisoned for something for an incredibly lengthy amount of time, more than they should have been sentenced for? The governor can go in and fix that by pardoning. Let's say that some new evidence comes out after a conviction, and all of a sudden it looks like somebody's not guilty, the governor can come in and fix that situation. We learned in the Leo Frank section of this year that Leo Frank was originally sentenced to die, and the governor pardoned him and lowered it to just life in prison because of new evidence and questions about his guilt. So that's a formal power of the governor. And also he leads in civil crisis. If there's ever a crisis, a formal power is he leads the Georgia Highway Patrol and the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. That's part of the executive branch, okay? Now the informal powers. Informal powers are things that aren't in the Constitution, but you should do them. If you're a good governor, you should probably do these things. You can see them in the PowerPoint. Number one is talk to the public, communicate with the public. A governor is not mandated to do that. He isn't forced in the Constitution to talk to us. But that's an informal power. But boy, oh boy, you sure want to do that, especially if you're trying to get reelected. Another informal power is working with legislators to pass laws. Like, he should do that or she should do that, but it's not something that's required. I would think that a good governor would use that informal power to work with the legislature. And then the last one that we've got listed is the governor can issue proclamations about things, okay, that are happening in the state of Georgia. In the PowerPoint, you'll see a little proclamation from when the ice storm happened 5 years ago and the schools shut down, and Georgia kind of made a oopsie by not closing the schools, and he's issuing a proclamation to kind of apologize and let everybody know that they've got it under control. Go watch that video and pay attention to when the microphone falls down. It's pretty funny. Now, your $1 million question, discussion question, and you've got to do a posting, and remember, the replies are not just I agree this time, all right? All right, so in your opinion, of the formal powers that we just listed out, okay, which one is his most important formal role, formal power? Of the ones we've just talked about, which one? And why is it important? Like, why, in your opinion? Explain yourself. Like, why is that the most important formal power that the governor has? I mean, I suppose if you wanted to try to argue an informal power, you could. That would be totally fine. So that goes in the discussion. You start a thread with your original reply, and then you go back with your original post, and then you go back and reply to two peers with a thoughtful, meaningful reply that advances or continues or deepens the conversation. This is Mr. Bork sitting here with Jaws on the DLD Show. We'll catch you tomorrow, and I'm not kidding. There is a legitimate celebrity coming. I can't say exactly what day. It could be tomorrow. It could be Thursday. It could be Friday. We'll see. Who knows what's going to happen on the DLD Show? We'll catch you on the intraweb.